So how do I set up my CO2 products? Whether it's a handheld cryo cannon or CO2 cannon or a CO2 jet, this video is a quick verbal explainer showing you and telling you how to hook your products up. Other videos on our YouTube that show more in depth on how to hook them up, and a lot more on our warehouse series videos. So what you do is you always mount your tanks where they need to go. Strap them down. If the larger tanks have caps on them, leave the caps on. You want to make sure the caps stay on until they're strapped down and they don't move. Number one. Then you go ahead, you grab your hose and you grab your products wherever they are. Okay, maybe you put the products, if you have jets, you mount the products or you put the jets where they're gonna go, and then you find out where the hose needs to go to where the tanks are. And then you strap the tanks down. But for the sample of this video, we're gonna talk about the tanks being strapped down first, because that really is the most important thing for safety. Then your jets or your handheld cryo gun or cannon go where they're gonna go. You hook the hose up to those first. Then you bring the hose over to the tanks. You take that CO2 fitting and you put a washer in the fitting. The washer goes in the fitting between that CO2 fitting and the CO2 tank. Once that's there, you screw that fitting onto the CO2 tank as tight with your hands as you can get it. The majority of these fittings will screw all the way on very easily until the hose stops moving like this. So if this is the fitting, horrible analogy, but I'm gonna do this here for the purpose of the video. If the hose still moves like this, grab your wrench and tighten a little bit more. The reason being is that CO2 fitting is gonna butt up against the CO2 tank and it's gonna stop moving. The hose will literally stop moving. You won't be able to move it. Then you grab your wrench and you tighten a half turn or less. A quarter to a half turn only. You don't tighten this thing all the way around multiple times. Literally just enough to seal and get that fitting on there. Then once that's done, you got your tank and your hose connected, your CO2 jet and your cannon or your hose connected. Then you turn the tank on just slightly and you check for leaks everywhere. Turn it on slightly and then turn it back off. You'll hear CO2 flowing into your hose. Then you turn it back off, check for leaks, no leaks. You come back over and you turn it on. And then you're ready to use your products. That's how you set up a CO2 product or a CO2 system. I personally leave those tanks off until I'm going to be using that. If it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm actually really not intending on using these until 9 o'clock at night, I'm gonna leave that off. You can leave a little bit of pressure on the line, because later on, if you activate it without turning the tank back on, you can hear if the pressure's still in there, which tells you there's no leak. Maybe 9 o'clock is when I'm gonna use it. I come back over at 8 or 8:30, turn the tanks all the way on, boom, now I'm ready to go. So this is how you set up your CO2 products. We have another video on this page that talks about how to strike or tear down your CO2 products. Again, this was a quick overview, so it's an explainer video, and this is what we recommend people watch instead of explaining on the phone. I hope this helps. This is CryoFX. Thanks for watching.